Hey, what's up, YouTube? It's YT Wake 'em Up, back at it again with another video. This topic right here is the housing market. I know y'all heard about it. The average cost of a house right now is $500,000. This is average. Now, I'm not saying you can't find something cheaper, but for instance, let's just say a house that was going for $100,000 might be going for $250,000 to $300,000 right now. They're saying that if you didn't buy a house before 2020, you will never own a home. We've seen houses increase at the highest levels they have throughout history. We see that houses are now 50% of an average employee's income. It's never been that high before. The transfer of wealth is in full effect, y'all. The Great Reset is in full effect. This is a topic that I love speaking on. A lot of people think that the housing market will crash again like it did in '08. But this is a little different than '08. It's actually a lot different. Yo, but I'm not going to talk too much about it. We're going to talk more about it as the video continues. If you're brand new to this channel, what I want you to do is smash the subscribe button so that these videos can pop up on your timeline on a day-to-day basis. And I need everybody else, including the new subscribers, to thumbs up this video so that the algorithm can push this out. With that being said, y'all, let's get into this video. This generation can't afford anything. It's coming down to that. It's an affordability crisis taking place right now.
You don't work enough, and that's why you can't afford anything. That's what you've probably been told. And let me tell you, I've been seeing all over Facebook a bunch of boomers talking about, oh, my mortgage cost me $800 a month, and I've got a 6-bedroom, 5-bath. So each time I see this, I always ask them, I'm like, are you currently aware of the housing market situation and interest rates?
No, they're not.
And go figure, each time they're like, what are you talking about? Just buy a house. It'll be cheaper than renting. Now, to give a visual aspect to this, the current home price in America is about $420,000. At the current 8% interest rates, with $40,000 down, you're looking at a $3,100 a month mortgage. Now, let's say you're lucky enough to find a house for $250,000 nowadays, and you're able to put $25,000 down. You're still going to have a $2,000 a month payment. So for the people that already know, a $250,000 house is almost non-existent anymore, unless you're buying a literal fucking shack.
Right.
If you want a nice, livable, comfortable house in a safe area, you're looking at $320,000 to $400,000 bare minimum. Once again, this is just talking about the cost of us having housing.
Yeah, so anywhere from $400K to $500,000 is what you have to pay for a new house, right? On the low end, you might be able to find one for $300,000 or a shack for $200,000, like bro said. So I mean, once again, the house that you live in right now, this is for the boomers or anybody that haven't grasped the concept that the housing market is in shambles. How much did you pay for your house? Was it $300,000? Was it $400,000? 9 times out of 10, probably not, unless you well off. Okay, cool. Congratulations for you, right? But for the average working American, the housing market is in shambles. Remember the time when there was a lack of inventory of houses? People were overbidding. People were spending more than they needed to spend on houses that weren't worth what they spent. Ever since then, it's been kind of hard to get a house for the low. This channel is to bring everybody up to speed. This is a different economy than a couple of years ago. I got to keep saying that on every video because it's a lot of people that's not aware. Let's keep it rolling.
I don't want to live here anymore. I live in America, and the sense of dread that I feel living here for the next 30, 40 years is so bad, you guys. Let me just give you a little peek into my world. So 5 years ago, me and my husband bought our home. Okay, we bought our home on my 22nd birthday. Our home at the time was valued at $130,000 by the county. Now, mind you, we did not pay this much for our home. I wish we did, but we did not. 5 years later, we just looked. Our home is valued at $248,000 5 years later.
You see that?
Last year, our home appraised at $161,000. If we were to try to buy a home now, I don't think that we would be able to do it. 5 years ago, all they told you was you needed good credit and $10,000 saved up. That was more attainable 5 years ago for a couple of early 20-year-olds than it would be for two people dual income in our mid-20s right now. At the time, me and my husband were making really good money. I mean, for two people that don't have college degrees, we were making well over $100,000 a year. And in the South, specifically Texas, that use took a stretch. Nowadays, it literally doesn't mean anything. Like, groceries are too high. The cost of living is too high. The housing crisis is out of control. People move. It's bad. It's bad, you guys. It's getting bad, and it's getting worse and worse by the year, no matter who's elected president.
There you go.
We were not put on this earth to work 70 plus hours a week, not be able to spend time with our families. We were put on this earth to consume art, have community, try new foods, new cultures, travel. We did everything that they tell us you're supposed to do. We went to college. Now, do we have degrees? No. We went to college. We saved up the money. We worked really hard. We bought the house. People base their whole self-worth off of their work ethic. I'm not one of those people. I'm not one of those people. Even if you say, oh, you've done this and this and look at all the things you've acquired. I don't care. I don't care. I can't even imagine people that stay at their job 30, 40 years. Kudos to you. It's really hard for people, and I think especially my generation, to just see us doing the same thing for the next 30 years. And for what? I don't know what we're supposed to do. People my age. Is this it? Is this what we do? Forever? Nah. Nah. I don't want to live here anymore. I don't want to do this. And I'm not saying that there's somewhere better and there's just somewhere, there's a utopia that you don't have to work. But I think that there has to be somewhere that it's beneficial for the amount that you work. Fun. People will say, well, what are you going to do when you're older? How are you going to retire? I don't know. But I know that I'm going to enjoy every day and I'm going to be happy every single day.
What makes you happy is the most important, not the possessions that you have. You can have all of the material possessions in the world and still be miserable, still be depressed. It's millionaires and billionaires that off themselves every year. We see just within the past 5 years how everything has changed. This is coming from somebody that got an opportunity to purchase a house. At least she's living in reality. At least she's not delusional. At least she knows, like, wait a minute. Everybody else won't have this opportunity in life. They won't be able to afford a home if they didn't get one by 2020. The new American dream is living outside of America, y'all. It's leaving the country. It's doing less work and being able to have more time to yourself, to enjoy your life. All of these other generations, they work hard, all for nothing. They died without even taking a vacation, a lot of people. Or they always just wanted to do this one specific thing that they never got a chance to do, or they were going to do it right after they retired. And guess what happened? They died at the job and didn't get to retire. That's common. That's common. And a lot of people don't want to live that life, especially right now where you work hard just to not be able to afford anything. You can't fault the younger people. The veil has been lifted. Why is life unaffordable and not fun? Let's get into this rant, y'all.
No, but riddle me this. When did life become so goddamn expensive and it's also impossible to have fun? We're in the process of buying a house, okay? We offered a bid that is very substantial, especially for first-time buyers. The house has been on the market for over a year now, so we went a little bit under the asking price, thinking, why not? Why could it hurt? It's been on the market for over a year.
Right.
Tell me why. The listing agent comes back to us and says that there are now 6 bidders involved. Not only do we have a bidding war going on for a house that is absurdly expensive, but we also are planning to go on a family trip to Orlando this weekend, hopefully. I don't know. We were thinking of going to Universal Studios. Let's go. It is almost $200 to get into Universal Studios. And on top of that, it is spring break and the lines are ridiculously long everywhere you go. It's just madness. So I don't even know if going to Orlando is even an option anymore. That's fun sucker number 1.
Just what I said, a lot of people can't afford that vacation, right? It's just getting too expensive. A lot of people didn't travel this summer for real. They didn't really do their annual, the yearly vacation, the yearly family trip. A lot of people stuck in grind mode right now.
Fun sucker number 2 is a cocktail bar that me and my husband like to go to. It is great. They have great cocktails, but it's also impossible to find a ticket. The second that it goes on Resi, they're sold out. Like, I don't know who the hell buys these tickets, but they are literally sold out the second they go online. We were lucky enough to find a ticket, and guess what? We can't even go because our plans changed. The really cute part about everything is that they don't even accept cancellations. I don't know. Sorry for this rant, but this is just this is the new America. Like, it's unattainable, unaffordable, and unfun.
And unsustainable. It's an un before everything. It's unrealistic for somebody making a normal income to be able to afford one of these houses. Prices got to come down, but they don't want them to. They want to own all of the inventory. They want to own everything. All of the assets. They want to get them from the old people. They want to get them from the people that currently have them, right? And even now, did you know there are drones, depending which city you stay in the city that I'm in right now, there's drones that fly over these houses, right? Anybody that owns a home, they know, or they may have seen them, or they might not have seen them, but there are drones that fly over people's houses, and it does a scan pretty much, takes a picture. Then you'll get in the mail a notice of which updates you need to make. Eventually, it'll be you have to be compliant with the new energy standards. That'll cost $30,000 to $70,000 for you to make these upgrades. Mandatory. There are bills in place right now to have this passed. So this is the future. If you live in America and you own a home, you still could lose the house. You still got to pay taxes on the house. You could lose it to the taxes.
A Gen Zer with a six-figure savings account still can't afford to buy a house, and it's left her wondering what the point of saving even is. Studies show that Gen Z is struggling financially far more than even millennials did at their age, which is really saying something. This particular Gen Zer, who wrote into Slate's Pay Dirt financial advice column, is among those who've responded by being really thrifty and trying to save as much of their salary as possible. And they're definitely not alone in that. Studies have shown that the average Gen Zer started saving for retirement at 22, a full 15 years earlier than the generations before them. But this Gen Zer is an outlier among their friends, who tend to spend big on their social lives and vacations, because in this economy they don't see much point in saving. And after realizing that even their six-figure savings account is no match for the housing market in their high cost of living area, this Gen Zer is starting to agree with their friends. But the financial experts pointed out that there are far more things to save for than just a house. That could be anything from taking time off work, to helping out family members, to retiring early. But there's other things to keep in mind too, namely the way life changes as you get older. It's easy to be convinced in your 20s that you know exactly what you want for the rest of your life. But as someone well beyond my 20s, I can tell you that what you want in life often changes. I too thought I'd be a big city renter for the rest of my life, but after wandering around for quite some time, I ultimately ended up right back in the state where I grew up. A place I not only swore I'd never come back to, but ironically could also afford to buy a house if I'd actually been saving all that time. Who knows, maybe down the road you'll want to change careers and go back to school, or start a business, or move abroad. Yeah, live your life to the fullest and spend accordingly. That's what life is for. But if you can, save a bit along the way too, so that you can set yourself up for whatever your dreams may be down the road.
A lot of people came to the realization that they cannot partake in the American dream. So yeah, you might as well get experiences out of life. Take those trips. I'm going to keep saying that. I don't blame nobody that's doing that. I don't. I really don't. Move abroad. Live a more simplistic lifestyle, a minimalistic lifestyle. Move to Bali, Thailand, the Philippines, Mexico, wherever it is that you want to go. There's a lot of people moving to these places and are living their best life. They're living their life to the fullest. They're starting new businesses out there. That's the new American dream, like I said. And that's been my plan. I always saw this coming, so I never wanted to actually live in America myself personally. I traveled outside of the country the first time when I was 20, turned 21, with plans of staying there forever. Of course, everything don't always go as planned, but that's still my plan because I see what's happening. I see past the smoke screen for real. It's almost impossible not to, right?
I never realized how bad the housing market truly was until Dylan and I kind of stepped our foot into that world. It is so daggone awful. Oh my gosh. I hate it. Literally hate it. We just recently started getting more serious about trying to buy a house. We don't plan on buying one for another like 8 to 10 months or so, but we just want to go ahead and start looking and know what we want, what our must-haves are, what we don't want, things like that. Oh my gosh, it is so daggone expensive. Like, we do not want to buy a fixer-upper if we can help it. Dylan works 6 days a week, 13, 14 hours, sometimes has to go in on his off days. Like, he just doesn't have the time to put in the work and hours that it requires for a fixer-upper. And I'm a stay-at-home mom to our 16-month-old, and I promise you, you do not want me touching a fixer-upper. I promise I will make it 10 times worse. So I am out of the equation for that. Plus, my daughter needs me 99.9% of the day. So all my attention is focused on her solely. So, worst case, if it comes out cheaper in the long run, we have talked about buying a fixer-upper. Not one that requires everything to be redone, but if some things need to be replaced, then we can just hire someone to do those changes for us. But we really want something that's just move-in ready. And we know that we are not going to find a house that has everything on our must-haves. Like, we know that. We're okay with that. But it's just the fact that, like, here's our must-haves. We want an open layout, no maze. Like, I hate houses that are, it's like a maze. There's so many walls. I don't want that. I want, like, an open layout. My dream would be to have a huge open kitchen. Obviously, I know I'm not necessarily going to get that right now. But as long as my kitchen has, like, an open layout, I really want an island, but you can buy those. So I'm not so settled on that. Like, okay, I can give that up. But we definitely need a 3-bedroom, 1.5 baths. Like, we cannot cave on that. That's something that we need. And Dylan really wants a lot of land, but I think that's going to be our forever home because he wants to buy all kinds of toys like razors and things like that, but he also doesn't have time to play on those right now, so we don't need all of that. Anyway, it's just so hard to find a house that has some of our must-haves, that's also in a safe neighborhood, it's clean, that doesn't require a lot of remodeling. It's just so daggone hard. And we bought this car back in like February, I want to say, maybe January, because Dylan's truck absolutely, it needed to be replaced. So we traded that truck in, got this Charger. We absolutely love it. We talked about trading in my car for a few months because my car is paid off, so we don't necessarily want an extra car payment, but at some point we're going to have to do something with my car because we plan on expanding our family within the next like year and a half. And I have a small SUV, so Dylan is 6'7". He does not sit in my car comfortably. Like, he hates driving it. So, but we talked with a lender, and obviously it's not good to have so many open loans when you're trying to buy a house, because your debt to income ratio
right,
may not look the best. So right now we just have the car payment and my car's paid off, and then hopefully just a house or a mortgage. So I'm okay there. It's so difficult. I'm on Zillow every single day, and sometimes I'll find a house and I'll send it to Dylan, and obviously I know those houses will not be there or available by the time that we get serious about buying a house and like putting in offers and stuff. And we've talked to a few lenders. So, and the sad part is, when we first like got started about like being serious about this, I thought the most difficult part was going to be getting all the fees and the money ready for all that to pay up front. No, I'm not even worried about that. That part is fine. That part is covered. It's just trying to find a house at this point. Like, it drives me up the wall. But that's my rant. Thank you for listening. Love you.
All right, so yeah, you definitely don't want to offset your debt to income ratio. Having too much debt more than income, right? So having a 1 car note, that's fine. You don't want to have 2, and just a lot of liabilities that you're still paying on and trying to get a house. But that's a given, right? We already know that. With that being said, though, yeah, it's a lack of inventory. Still to this day, I mean, it may have changed a little bit, but I know there was a point in time that there was a scarcity in inventory of houses, right? You really couldn't get a house, right? People were overbidding on houses. Now it's kind of calmed down a little bit, right? Some houses are still sitting on the market, but you still have to overbid because there still are a lot of bidders, to where it's still almost impossible to get a house, or you just have to pay a lot for the house. So it's not really realistic that you could get a house for the low no more, right? I remember in 2008, the housing market, it dipped down so low that I had a friend that bought a house for $30,000. Well, his dad bought the house for $30,000 cash in an area that's worth $100,000 plus. But I don't see that happening in the near future. I see the price of houses continuing to go up, so that more people will rent and be stuck paying these high rents, so that BlackRock and all of the elites can own all of these houses and just get rich off of people. These people are getting more and more greedy every single day, man. Every single year. The agenda is for the elites to own everything, and for us as the people to own nothing. And I see it playing out. You can see it, right? We're seeing it play out.
I can't be the only one that actually thinks that this whole home buying process is a bunch of bullshit. For starters, inventory is super low. So there isn't a whole lot of houses out there, and the ones that pop up, honestly, are kind of pieces of shit. They're pieces of shit that are marked up by over $100,000 more than they actually should be, and even they get off the market super, super quick. It's really hard as someone who's looking to get into a home. My wife and I are both looking to get into a home, to actually find something that works for us, because how the market is now, you can't even go and look at a home unless you have a pre-approval. But we went through the pre-approval process last year around October. Inventory was super low. There's nothing for us to look at. The few things that did pop up were gone before we could even look at them. And then our pre-approval expired, and we have to do it all over again, hitting our credit with another hard inquiry. And it sucks because no real estate agents are actually going to show us the home unless we have that pre-approval in hand, because they know how quick the home buying process is, and they know that people are making offers within hours of these houses being listed on the market. So they think, okay, if you don't have the pre-approval in hand, that just means someone's going to beat you to the punch, which I fully understand. But this whole thing sucks because this is the second time now that my wife and I are going through the pre-approval process to actually go look for a home. Inventory is still super low. The houses that are popping up are garbage, and no one's going to actually show us anything unless we have that pre-approval letter in hand. So it's just super frustrating. We're still looking. We're still trying to find something, but something's got to give here. This whole home buying process thing sucks. It's for the birds, and something's got to change here because this is not friendly to the actual home buyer at all.
Drop below in the comments. I want to know this. Did anybody purchase a house within the last couple of years, and did you need a pre-approval first before you could even view the property? I didn't know they were doing that, but I see why. There's a lot of competition, and we want serious buyers. We don't want people that's window shopping or just looking. But at the same time, if you're getting those pre-approvals, then yeah, that's another inquiry, another hard inquiry put onto your credit profile that will drop your credit score. So you kind of want to be careful with getting too many of those pre-approvals.
Yesterday, I had to sit down with myself and just come to grips with the realization I can't afford to buy a house in this economy. I've been looking since about December, and honestly, I am tired. I figured now was probably the best time to buy because rates are kind of holding steady and or declining in some cases, and housing prices are only rising. So as much as it is today, it's only going to be more expensive a year from now, 2 years from now. So why wait and save money? Like, that was my thought process. But what I'm running into is the fact that I can't afford a house that's like updated, has the bedrooms, the square footage, the layout that I need. I can't afford that. Fine, cool. But I also can't afford to buy a house that is not updated, needs some work. Like, I could buy that house, but I wouldn't be able to do any of the work. Like, there's not enough room in the budget to buy the worst house in the best neighborhood and still have a little bit left over to make some small adjustments here and there. Like, if it's ripping out 20-plus-year-old carpet that has stains and cat pee smell, I can't afford to do that. I'd have to move in to a house that needs those types of renovations. And the hard part for me in all of this is recognizing, like, I'm somewhat privileged, like, from an economic standpoint. And if it's like this for me, how is it like it for, like, most Americans? Like, this is ridiculous. I'm college educated, middle class, I don't have a lot of debt. I've got probably less than like $15K in debt, honestly. That includes like credit cards. I don't have a car note. Like, I don't have a lot of debt. I have money set aside for a down payment.
Let's just pause it right there. Wait a minute. If that's only credit cards, I'm hoping she's talking about something more than just credit cards, because $15K in credit card debt, that is pretty bad. Let's just watch it. Let's continue. Let's see.
I have all of that, and I still cannot afford to buy a house. That is like baffling to me. Like, for the longest, I didn't want to buy a house because I didn't want to do the commitment. I was perfectly fine renting because I'm like, I can, the landlord is responsible for the maintenance. I don't want to deal with it. It was about the convenience, and I was moving a lot. I wasn't sure where I wanted to live. Now that I was finally like set in the fact that I want to live in this location, I like where I am. I'm 40. I do want to start having some assets outside of just like my 401k. I was like, yeah, it's time to enter the housing market. But now I'm like, all right, maybe I just renew my lease for another year, take a little bit of the money that I was going to put in the down payment and like upgrade here in terms of like decorating my kids' rooms and getting them a new beds and getting some new furniture that I've been holding off on because I've been saving for a house. Yesterday, I had to sit down with myself.
She said she's 40. Don't even look it. Black don't crack unless you do it. But nah, a lot of people probably came to this realization that they'll never own a house. This is something you just got to come to terms with at this point in time if you don't have one, right? Unless a crazy opportunity presents itself to you, like unless a miracle happens. A lot of people won't really have home ownership. They won't have a house in their name unless they inherit one. Sometimes you just got to come to terms with reality. Sometimes you just got to come to terms and just fall back. This will never be a part of my life unless something changes. But I don't see nothing changing no time soon. I just see the dollar going down in value, losing its value more and more, and the digital currency being established. So in order for the digital currency to come into existence, the dollar has to completely lose its value. And we've seen this happen in Venezuela and a few other countries, right? So this is not nothing that I'm just pulling out my ass. Like, this is not just a random statement that I'm saying. Like, this is what the future entails. You can quote me on it. I've been studying this since 2017. And 100% humbly, have not been wrong. Everything has went exactly the way that I said it would. So y'all can quote me on that, man. Y'all come back to this video and be like, you know what? He said that. Gen Z and millennials can't afford to buy a home.
It's harder than ever for Gen Z and millennials to ever buy a house right now. Think about it. These kids are getting out of college right now. The average cost in the United States right now is $431,000. They're getting out of school. They have debt. They don't have the best jobs. They're not making enough money. They can't afford to qualify for a home right now, especially with interest rates being as high as they are.
Right.
Think about the baby boomers. They bought houses, they were averaging $66,000. Now these new kids, they can't afford it. But you might be thinking, oh, Krista, it's all relative. It's not relative. Inflation is at an all-time high right now. They're thinking, well, just save money. Well, listen, right now, rent is at 40% of their entire income. Back in
50.
2000, it was only 25%. They are getting screwed in every which direction. So if you're going to, for Gen Z or millennials, you need to get a great lender out there, study different type of loan programs, different grants, figure out ways to help these young people. Also, oftentimes now, you're going to have multi-families living in one home.
Yes.
Look for homes that could actually be differentiated or changed a bit to actually be able to afford 2 households at one time.
Right. Multiple people going to have to live together. This is what happened during the Great Depression. You know, there were multi-unit family households, right? Multiple people living under one roof. There were so many people in the house that people had to actually sleep outside. Like, people were sleeping outside. There are a lot of people going hungry, the whole nine. Y'all just studied the Depression, and y'all can see that we are living through the beginning of the new Great Depression, which is the silent depression, or just, in other words, the transfer of wealth. Completely. The transfer of wealth. And what can you say? This will go down in history books. I'm not going to lie to you. We just came out of an epidemic. Now nothing is the same. This is life after the epidemic, which was actually wrote about in the WEF Great Reset book. So this was all done strategically. This was strategized. They've been working on this for over 30 years. So this is not just a coincidence, y'all. This is just the world we're living in and the economy that we're currently living in. Sometimes they got to get worse for it to get better. Still, some opportunities will present themselves for us to get ahead, but it'll be within the digital realm. We're going to a digital economy, the fourth industrial revolution. So this will present an opportunity for us to get ahead through our investments. Right, so save your money for investment. Save to invest, like millionaires and billionaires do. A lot of first-time millionaires are made through economic downturn. That's when a lot of first-time millionaires are created. So just remember that and wait for the right opportunity so that you can benefit from it. That's all I can say. And continue to live your life, travel, and have fun and be happy, man. With that being said, it's YT Wake 'em Up. If you made it to the end of this video, make sure you smash subscribe if you didn't yet. And this is the reality, y'all. A lot of people will not be able to afford homes in America. But outside the country, you still can. Don't forget that.